Hey, over here. Yeah, right over here. Come here. Just say it real quick. Just say it. Yeah, just say it. Yeah. Just say it. I'll wait. I'll wait. Thanks for saying it. Hey, everybody. Yes, welcome back to the hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Paid Search Podcast.
My professional
name is Jason Rothman. As always, I'm joined by the great Chris Schaefer. This is the Paid Search Podcast. Chris, you're looking excellent. You're growing out a beard, I can tell. It's very, I mean, you're still attractive because you're an attractive guy. Now you're an attractive guy with a beard. And you look great. How's it going? You got the beard. How's it going?
Yeah, it's good. I feel like I constantly have ants on my face because like I feel like there's twitching and itchiness, and I'm not sure how long it's gonna last. First time I've ever tried it, but I wanted to be cool, like award-winning Google Ads manager Jason Rothman, and so here we are. I'm trying it out. I heard that you get more subscribers on podcasts if you have beards, so I thought we would double our chances of success.
Thank you. First time ever?
Yes, first time ever to try it. 39 years old now, and it's my first try.
No issues or midlife or anything like that. You're all good. It's just you just want to grow a beard.
Sure. I've many issues. Yeah, I mean the fact that I'm about to get a 4 in front of my name instead of a 3 this year is, I'm sure that probably has something to do with it. You know, I mean I'm talking to a Lamborghini dealership, you know, I'm sure that has nothing to do with it. Yeah. You know, I'm out looking for side chicks. I'm sure that has nothing to do with getting old. It's okay. My wife doesn't listen to the show. It's fine.
Oh, she doesn't listen? Okay.
No,
she doesn't listen. So we can speak freely?
Yeah, speak freely. It's just us.
Us. So how's that going for you?
Oh, it's horrible. Nobody wants an old man. It's awful. Even with a Lamborghini, it's not helping.
Yeah, you don't even have the whole office thing going for you. Like, meet people at work.
I know.
Yeah.
Like,
so you really got to take
my
chances.
Side chick
like 9 o'clock at night. I'm going out. Where are you going? I'm going out.
I'm going out. Like, yeah. Like, why? You work at home. You stay at home all day. Why are you leaving now?
All right. Well, you know what we do on the show. We talk about Google Ads, pay-per-click, but we also talk a little personal life. So definitely keep me updated. Keep the audience updated. Let us know how that goes for you. Anybody has any suggestions, write in. Matchmaker show. Contestant number 3, behind door number 3. Describe your perfect first date. Hi, Chris. I'm a big fan of the show. Believe it or not, I like to go bowling. And then contestant number 2, she'll pull the right words. I really like CrossFit. So yeah. I like CrossFit.
Ding, ding.
But yeah, Chris, you're looking great. You got the beard, you got the muscles, and I feel the energy is there. So let us know how it goes. We're all rooting for you, buddy.
Just for the record, I condemn all mention of infidelity. I am 100% with my wife, so just a joke. All right, so let's get serious. Let's talk about the not this tool, but the real tool of Google Ads, optio.com/PSP. That's right. You want a real tool to get things done faster. You can get a 6-week trial. That's longer than what all the other people get. This is an exclusive offer just for the listeners of the Paid Search Podcast. And you say, well, Chris, why would I go try that tool? Listen, the number one issue we have with people calling in and asking us, you know, what their biggest problem is getting things done, finding problems, finding solutions to things they didn't even know was a problem, identifying ways to optimize their campaign in an efficient way. Because listen, most of you guys out there wear 15 different hats. PPC management is one of those hats. And so you need to get it done quickly, and it needs to be done right, and you need a way to get it done. So optimize your ad copy, improve your keywords, optimize your bids, look for all these little things that we talk about for 187 episodes. we've talked about ways to do this, and this tool can help you get it done faster. So that's opteo.com/PSP for a 6-week free trial of their tool.
Thanks, Chris. And one of the things we love doing on this show is reading your Apple podcast reviews. When you leave reviews, it influences their ranking system, we believe, and we move up the rankings and more people find the show. So that's why we love reading your reviews, and we also love hearing from you. So this review is from the United States of America, 5 stars. And I never know if these people are playing pranks on me and getting me to say different things like the app where you give people a few dollars. But we appreciate your review. So the one and only paid search podcast in the galaxy, 5 stars. Love it. Chris and Jason are the epitome of, I was just reading like Chris, I'm just kidding. Epitome of Southern charm, polite, generous, and have imperial ethics, as we were discussing earlier in the show. Hands down, they know what they are talking about. They actually give you correct information and a lot of it. This is a great podcast if you are starting to learn PPC or if you need a different outlook on your current accounts. Love y'all. Keep up the good work.
Wow.
Thank you very much for that review. It came in recently. Those reviews are growing, moving up the charts, top 30-ish. All-time marketing podcast. We're going to get there number 1, and then we're going to crack the business one. So thanks for listening worldwide, everybody. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Blake. All right, so Jason, I know you love it when I drop bombs on the show. And sometimes I have a giant bomb and I think I'm going to drop it, and it turns out to be just a little firecracker. And it's not that exciting because you know about it. But when I mentioned this to you, you didn't necessarily know what I was talking about. And what I thought was a firecracker turned out to be a bomb. And
we'll see.
Because, we'll see. But it was news. I love being able to share new things, new tools, new systems that you can use in Google Ads that people may use incorrectly. They may not know about it all, or they realize that there's more that they could do with it than what they're currently doing with it. So today, we're going to talk about dynamic search ads. Just to be clear, we're not talking about dynamic keyword insertion or dynamic display ads or any other thing that has Google Ads and dynamic in it. This is dynamic search ads. We'll go into a little bit about what it is. But Jason,
yes.
When I say dynamic search ads, what's that mean to you? Have you ever used them before? Is this news to you?
No. Can't tell if you're genuine sometimes or not. But yeah, Chris, I was telling you before the show, I have a sentence to describe my skill set when it comes to Google Ads, and it starts with the best Google Ads manager on the planet.
Yeah.
And then it goes on for a paragraph because what I do in Google Ads is very specific. And I believe the stuff I do in Google Ads, it's very specific. I am the best in the world at it. But there's a whole lot of Google Ads that I don't do too often. One of them is dynamic ads. So they're on the periphery of my knowledge. I know a little bit about them. I think the first thing I think when you say dynamic ads is I think it should be called dynamic ads and keywords. That's what I think. Right. So with that said, why don't you kick us off here? Explain to our listeners, what are dynamic ads, dynamic search ads, and why would someone like me say they should be called dynamic search ads and keywords?
Right. So it is a bit of a misnomer because it's this whole system, dynamic ads, is not just ads. This system is actually a fully automated bidding system using your website, your URL, your landing page as a guide for keyword targeting. The ads actually are fully automated. The headlines are all, except for the description. The descriptions you can choose, but come on. This is
Chris, you don't think anybody reads the description?
No, I don't think anybody reads the descriptions. I mean, I put of all the things I do, I probably put the least work into descriptions because I don't think people read them. Spend any time in
Yeah,
Google Ads.
bang versus buck,
Searches.
they take a long time to make, and it's like you got to think the headlines are bigger, they're more prominent, they're a color blue, and you would just think they're driving the click-through rate a lot more than the descriptions.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Agreed.
I mean, so that's why I say that they're fully automated, because what really matters is the headline. So
Gotcha.
it's a fully automated system, and you don't choose keywords. You can only see search terms. You don't choose anything other than blocking certain words with negative keywords. You don't choose which keywords you want to push more than others. And we'll get into a little bit about, how you can optimize and get it to perform better, and what options there are. But one thing that, if you guys listen, I know you guys out there, some of you are new to Google Ads, some of you aren't. Here's how to sound like one of the cool kids. You call it DSA. That's how the cool kids call it, right? If you're trying to get a job at an agency, and they say, well, what do you think about DSAs? You don't know what they're talking about. Now you do. DSA stands for Dynamic Search Ad, and now you're in the know. So let's talk about how they work.
So, Chris, just to recap what they are, let me tell you my impression of them, and then you can tell our audience if this is correct. You have a website. I'm reading straight from Google right now. They're saying dynamic search ads are the easiest way to find customers searching on Google for precisely what you offer. So you give Google your domain and you write a little description for the descriptive part of the description part of the ad. And then automatically, dynamically, Google will create ads for you with headlines. They will choose pages to your site they want to take people to when they click on the ad. We'll get into it, but generally that's how it works. And after creating ad headlines for you and picking out landing pages from your domain for you, if you let them do that, they will also decide what keyword searches you show up on.
Yeah.
And you don't enter in keywords.
Right. If I could put it, if I could put a comparison, it's the Google shopping of Google search.
In my mind, I'm picturing 100% of people, 2% of them are very busy business owners who need to save time and want to get something going good with Google Ads, but don't have a lot of time to build it out. And then 98% of what I'm picturing are shady agency people that are thinking, I could charge the same fees and not have any human beings build this and let it run dynamically and keep all the money. Am I onto something there, Chris?
Oh, I can tell you, just this week, I talked to a new client that said he hired someone from Beep Beep website. That's a censor. I'm not going to say what website it is, but he hired someone from a website, and he said they did some stuff and they said it would help. And I looked at their campaign. Guess what was on their what this one person had done to quote unquote help the campaign? They set up a dynamic search ad group to run. And he said, that'll fix it. There you go. So absolutely. It's a shortcut to nothing.
Okay. So, but we're talking about it. You've used it. So we'll get to, there's got to be some positives and situations where you should use it. So I'm very intrigued right now. I could see this going both ways. It could be misused, but it could also sounds like it could be a great tool in the tool belt to do something I love, which is to find keywords. So that's what they are, Chris. Tell me a little bit about how they work. How do you set them up?
Okay. So the way they work is this. In the same way that Google Shopping will match to your product description, the dynamic search ads will match to the content on your website. So it's a fully automated system utilizing the algorithm from Google that looks at your content of your page and decides this appears to be what they're advertising. So we're going to show them on these kind of searches. So what happens is you can pick a website. You can pick all of your website, or you can pick individual pages or certain landing pages and just set them up in one ad group or all of them in one ad group. And pick a bid, turn it on automated bids, whatever you want to do. It could be believe it or not, with DSA, with dynamic search ads, this is truly the most automated system that you could possibly use in Google Ads for search ads. You could essentially set up a fully automated maximize clicks and put a budget on there, throw in a DSA, write 2 descriptions, and you're done. You've now created a fully functional campaign that all it needs from there is a credit card to pay, right? So it's, the way it works is 100% pure automation. And if you've listened to the show long enough, we have mixed feelings about 100% pure automation because it's a mixed bag.
Well, let me break it down this way, Chris, because to me, this is the biggest point of how to set them up. It's not automated with the campaign level. Campaign level settings are still, you're in full control, whatever you want to do with your campaign.
Correct.
However, am I right in saying that dynamic search ads, DSA, is an ad group level tool? It's set up at the ad group.
Correct.
Okay. So when I was looking at it, you create an ad group, you hit new ad group, and then it's automatically set to whatever the default is, which is called, I forget. Standard. Okay. So it says standard and there's a drop down and you can change that to dynamic. When you hit new ad group, change the drop down from standard to dynamic. That is where you will see these options.
Right. And that's it. And like I said, that's a good point, Jason, because the settings that you choose at the campaign level are determined for that ad group. So if you've chosen maximize clicks, it will run at that non-discretionary maximize click max bid, if you've even put one in there. So essentially, worst possible nightmare is you set up a dynamic keyword, sorry, I'm saying the wrong thing. You set up a DSA and you have no maximum cost per click set on a maximize clicks campaign. It could potentially spend $6-7 per click if the system designated that it needed to. You were in a really competitive network or something like that. I mean, all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of potential for some stuff that's very important to be aware on how to use it properly.
Okay. So in terms of, just to wrap up, how do they work? I think the very specific stuff about picking out different landing pages, different URLs, that kind of stuff, people can feel out when they're in the account and looking at the documentation, but it's an ad group tool. You create a new ad group. Instead of doing standard on the drop down, you do dynamic. And then when you tell Google what your website is, you tell Google what your description is in the ads. And then what happens? Do they basically just start picking out headlines, create ads for you, and pick out keywords for you, and you'll start to see clicks and spend come through?
Yeah, and that's the thing. There is no more keywords tab. When you created
no more keywords in the ad group. Wow.
There's you can't even see them. So I don't want to let people assume that they can now see what keywords Google chooses and then grab those keywords and put them into another one. That's not at all how it works. It's completely hidden in the system. You cannot see the keywords. All you can see is this. You can see the descriptions that you've written for your ads.
Okay.
You can see that you've created a DSA ad, and you can see the search terms that have come in for that DSA ad group. So that's it. You can't see the keywords. You can't see anything. The only thing you can do from there is optimize, which we'll talk about.
Okay. So when do you ever do this? I just can't picture you getting a new campaign and going, well, I think we're going to start out with the DSA. Am I right about that?
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, this isn't a day one strategy. Because
so for you, it's fair to say anytime you do DSA, it's always coming after trying or running manual, not a manual campaign, but a regular campaign with keywords and ads that you create.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
so then where does this fit in? Where would you ever say, oh, I'm going to start running a dynamic search ad right now?
Right. And you guys have heard us. This is a very popular episode. It was very groundbreaking, using broad keywords like a pro. In the same way that we talked about that many episodes ago, this is the same type of solution as that. It's designed to capture, it's your safety net to capture ideas that you have not captured in other ways. Let's say you have a superbly built phrase match, exact match, modified broad campaign. You have a 98% search impression share. You're happy with your cost per acquisition. And you think, I'm terrified to add keywords. I don't really know what to do. My favorite thing to do is ideally I have a manual bid campaign for that client on the search campaign. So I'll create a new ad group within that manually bid campaign and give it a very low bid, right? Let's say everything's set for $3 bids on average, and I might give it a $1 bid or a $1.50. It's probably going to be 50% or lower than everything else. Okay, so I'm going to start low. That doesn't mean I won't come up, but you got to be cautious because this is a very non-scientific approach to getting keywords. So you turn it all on, and the way that it's going to work is it captures, in the same way that broad keywords would capture, it captures things that you may never have thought about. It captures searches that you may not have even gotten if you would have come up with broad keywords, because maybe it's something you weren't even aware, but the algorithm knows when people are looking for this kind of content, this is the way they search. It fills in that. It's like the bridge between your lack of knowledge and your knowledge, right? And sometimes the broad keywords can't get you there because you have to build the broad keywords. If you don't know that search exists, then there's no bridge.
Perfect example for you. You have a long distance moving campaign, phrase match, exact match, broad match, modified on the words long distance movers. You'll show up on all sorts of searches that include the terms long distance movers, long distance moving companies, movers for long distance. But you may not be able to show up on state to state movers, interstate movers, even though those are the same meaning as long distance movers. If you don't know about those keywords, your current set of keywords are not going to allow those search terms to come through because you're too locked down. So this does sound scientific to me. It does sound scientific, but it sounds like they're not going to let you in the science lab. Basically, you're locked out. Like, how do you know what's going on with your experiment? You don't really know until you check your search terms report, I guess. So
until it's already happened.
Until it's already happened.
The project has already happened. You can't see it happening. They won't let you into the laboratory.
Chris, if I want to set this up, one of the things that I get a little frustrated with is doing different things with different ad groups because they're still under the same budget. And so you might have some great keywords that have higher bids in other ad groups, and then dynamic ad group is sitting there and it doesn't get the best traffic because the bids are lower than the good keywords you already have. So one thing I think I might do is maybe set up an experiment, run it 50% of the time, whatever you want to do. And in the experiment version, you pause all ad groups except the dynamic ad group, and you run that. And then that way you could look at your dynamic side of the experiment versus your current setup. Again, with experiments, you never know what's going to be allowed to run an experiment until you get in there and confirm it. But that's how I'd probably go about testing it out. It may be an experiment. I just would want to run it, I think, at different times. I think.
I don't know.
I'm not
so
sure.
You're talking about creating the DSA in an experiment? Is that what you're talking about doing?
Yeah, like set up an experiment, run it.
And then launch that,
and then tell Google, like, okay, on the original, there's no dynamic. It's the same thing I've been running. That runs X% of the time. The other percent of the time, only run this dynamic ad group and let's see what we get.
But why not just create a new campaign and let them run? Because essentially they're not targeting in the same way. There shouldn't necessarily be interference as long as you have a bid differential between the two. If one's $3 and the other's $1.50, I mean, you could just do it in two
I see
campaigns.
your point. It would be, if you're running the DSA to find new keywords, who cares if they're going to compete with your current ad groups because you already have those keywords.
Yeah. If
So
those are covered,
I get you.
If those are covered, they'll go to the higher bid, higher ad rank. If they're not, then you'll find them if they can, I mean,
It just,
hopefully you don't
I think
have
it just
any that have
depends. A
to have
lot
a
of times,
$3
Chris,
bid.
I work with really small budgets a lot of times. Okay. And if a campaign only has a $20 a day budget, well, those higher bid ad groups they could eat up the budget and not give my dynamic one enough
A chance.
volume to
Yeah.
give me some information. So that's just something to think about.
I still, yeah, I mean, I still
Well, let me
like,
ask you, you've been running them. So when you
yeah,
do this inside the same campaign, just on its own little ad group with its own lower bid, are you still able to get data usually?
yeah, yeah. Now
Okay.
it's not as fast because this is an automated system, so it doesn't happen as immediately as a
Hmm.
broad match keyword
Good point.
campaign
That
or
would be
ad
the
group would go.
downside of doing an experiment or something separate, because you got to sit there and you got to wait. Like,
You got to
okay,
wait.
I've allocated half my budget to this. I'm still waiting. So what do you see in terms of that wait
Yeah.
time?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the industry. If there's, if there's a lot of search volume, if there's a little bit, I mean, that makes a difference in the speed. So lots of search volume means that it might take off faster. Very little or very targeted campaigns with a
Hmm.
small geographic area might take longer. But I found that it can take like 1 to 2 days for you to
Okay.
really start getting, some decent numbers.
So Chris, is just to wrap up, why why you do this, and then where you think they fit into campaign management. In a sentence, would it be accurate to say it's to find new keyword ideas?
Yeah, that's it. It's another approach to go fishing and
Hmm.
find new
Keyword
ways to
ideas.
reach qualified traffic.
Okay, so
That's it.
so how are these misused? Who can't use them? And then we'll finish up with some overtime optimization. What do you do as you get data? So how are they misused?
Yeah. So here's the ways that I've seen it used before. People that only use DSA to target traffic, they'll never have true control of their campaigns. So if you're thinking, this is great, I can just let it all run
I
automatically,
didn't forget it.
that's fine. Basically, what you're doing is you're setting up a Google Ads Smart campaign, which already exists. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You could just set up a smart campaign if you wanted. But people that use this exclusively, I wouldn't recommend that, because of why even use the expert mode Google Ads system if you're not even going to utilize any type of manual
Okay.
targeting. Number two is, and I already mentioned it, automated bidding plus DSA. So if you have maximized clicks, maximized conversions, stuff like that, the system is doubly automated. You have no way of controlling the fact that the clicks are 50 cents or $5, because if you don't have a maximum CPC set in place for maximized clicks, or a CPA goal, max CPA goal, the system can just run. If you don't check it in 30 days, it might have blown all your budget on some stupid keyword, because not because the system's broken, but because it's designed to do what it thinks works based on your website. Maybe your website isn't very descriptive about what you sell. And that's always an option, so it may not be the system. It may be because your website is not properly themed. And that can be a big problem if you don't have the right kind of keywords, if it's very confusing as far as the language on your website about what you actually sell. And then here's another one. This is not a replacement. I wouldn't suggest this in place of a well thought out broad match testing keyword system, right? Use broad match like a pro. That's the kind of system that I think works best. And if that is going moderately well for you, this is something to throw into addition. I would say this is like bottom of the barrel, kind of like, hey, I need more ideas. I want to try something else. Let's keep going. I have more budget to spend. I want to keep going. I want to be more aggressive. Then sure, throw this in. But I still think broad match keyword like a pro is a more superior system. And then one last thing, this is probably the most chronic thing that I see all the time. You let it run and it just gets all brand keywords. And that's
A lot
the
of
low-hanging
agency
fruit.
salivating out there now, Chris.
Yeah,
This is a great combo,
exactly.
a 1-2 punch.
Yeah. So essentially, if you don't know what that means, it means you're going to get lots of returning traffic, which
you're going to get a
converts
great
very
conversion
highly.
rate. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to get great click-through rates. You're going to get great conversion rates. Your CPC is going to be super low. It's going to look amazing. And if someone can't see the keywords for a DSA ad group, they're not going to realize that you can look at the search terms and actually see those and realize this is a bunch of people who are just typing my business name and coming to my site. Why am I paying for this? You know, this is not useful. So that's one of the biggest issues that I've seen on how DSA is misused.
Okay, Chris. And it sounds like the system is scanning your website. So do you ever run into an issue where maybe the website is not the best and the system has trouble figuring out what kinds of keywords to target and what to make with the ad headlines?
Yeah. And I work with a lot of B2B companies. I just came across one the other day that I spent about 5 minutes on their website, and it was some kind of like laboratory testing for some, I can't even describe it. And that's after reading through their website. And if we can't even really grasp it ourselves, it might be that the Google system is not going to do a very good job either. So if you have very obtuse, very obscure language on your site, maybe you're one of those companies that you don't really fit into a niche, you're kind of between the niche kind of thing, it might be a really bad system for you to use, because if the system can't figure it out,
You're too polite, or you're a moving company that hasn't taken the 2 hours and $400 to actually get a real business site together. And the bottom of your website is still template information from your theme. And it has a bunch of cities all around the world listed. And you're going to start showing up on horrible searches about different cities around the world. So, and people don't even know you're a mover from your site. So,
well, I'm saying more like the business literally is one of those super niche businesses. We are a scientific,
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Laboratory testing company.
Excuse me. We're a scientific research lab. Okay. What searches are going to show up on? Yeah.
For rat eyeballs, that need cancer treatment. It's like something that's like people aren't searching for it. Google's not going to know how to find that.
And Google,
you're going to get searches for like pet rat.
Who knows how they scan a site, but I always like to think like the human area, the human mind, what's offline, it usually gets reflected online with Google pretty well. So
yeah,
if you're looking at a website and you can read the words on the website, look at the images and all that kind of stuff, and figure out what kinds of searches you would want to show up on or what the business does, then I think Google system could probably have a good chance. And then if you can't by looking at the website, then Google might have an issue as well.
Yeah. All right, guys. Here's how to optimize. All right. Here's how to make all this work better. You go to opteo.com/PSP. Yeah, that's the tool you want to use. Opteo is our preferred tool for getting things done faster in Google Ads. It's a great system, and you can try it out without putting a credit card in, without giving them your firstborn child. Like literally, you just go in, just give them your email, set up an account, try it. You don't like it, you walk away. It's the best deal ever. I know deals. I make great deals, and this is a good deal. Opteo.com/PSP. Make changes to keywords, bids, targeting, ad schedule, big strategies, small strategies, add negative keywords, all the tool in a beautiful, compact, nice to look at interface. And it won't make your eyes go blind like the Google Ads interface after you stare at it for 64,000 hours. All right.
So Chris, you're running dynamic search ads for a while, this ad group. You're getting some data. The only data it sounds like you get is like the main data that you actually look at and need is the search terms that come through. And the search terms can give you keyword ideas. So let me ask you a few questions. What do you do after you've been running for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, a couple months? What I want to know is what you do with those search terms. And then I also want to know, what have you seen in the past in terms of quality? Is it is it like you've been running broad match keywords and there's a whole lot of bad stuff that comes through? Does your jaw drop when you're like, whoa, these are some awesome keyword ideas that I would not have discovered? What's kind of your experience been, and what do you do with that data?
Yeah. At times, let's say you let a DSA run without any negative keywords. It's like dumping your trash can out and trying to find lunch. It's like, oh boy, this is ugly. I think I'm going to fast through lunch, like there's not anything there that you're really going to want. But
Wow.
over time, I would say definitely there are some diamonds in there that you may not have thought otherwise. Now, the thing is about optimization of a DSA ad group. It's very much of a grind because you can't see keywords. So you can't grab the keyword that triggered all kinds of great stuff. You have to look through the search terms. So if you do this like once every 90 days, you're going to have a lot of search terms to look through, and you're going to realize, oh, wow, we spent a lot of money on this and I should have blocked this like 90 days ago. So optimization is best done in small snippets. And basically the way it works is you add negative keywords for the stuff that you blatantly do not want. And go back and listen to an episode about negative keywords. We've talked about it plenty. I won't go into how to add negative keywords, but use the keywords effectively to block phrases and block broad, specific keywords to make sure that you get the best quality you can. So that's the number one priority. I find 80% of the time I'm going to be blocking, and maybe about 20% of the time I'm going to be grabbing a keyword and maybe adding it to.
So you have had moments where you're like, wow, this is an amazing keyword search, a search term.
I wouldn't use amazing. I wouldn't use amazing, but sure.
Well, that's because you're the man, because you might already do a good job getting a bunch of keywords in there. I'm thinking of our audience. Some members of our audience, they might not have the best set up campaign.
Don't make eye contact with them. Everybody's waiting. Don't look at them. You'll hurt their
No,
face.
there's trillions of people that listen to the show. So someone out there probably doesn't have the best setup, and then they turn on a DSA and they'll see a bunch of keyword ideas that they didn't have before. So I could definitely see that happen. I'm definitely going to mix this into my management as a tool to try to find those gems on, especially competitive industries. It's always a really good thing if you have more relevant keyword ideas than the next competitor, and you can kind of show up on less competitive searches that bring in the same quality of traffic. So if you can get that from DSA, I think it sounds like it's definitely worth a shot.
I think it is. I think it's worth doing, especially with the ease of setting it up. This is easier than setting up a broad match like a pro campaign or ad group. It's even easier than that. And one thing that you can always do is you can try different pages. One page might bring in certain types of results. Another page might do a different type of result, so sometimes it may not be worth just doing everything. You might want to try just one specific service page, or
then you look at those search terms, you add in negatives for stuff you don't like, and then stuff you do like, you pick out those search terms and you add them in as targeted keywords in your regular ad groups.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the process. Okay. And then how long would you say go on if you are getting traffic, if you are spending some budget on a DSA, but you're just not getting any ideas and you just find yourself adding negative keywords? Do you give it a month, basically a couple of weeks if you're getting traffic, but you don't like it?
Well,
or do you try different pages?
I say, what's the harm? And, if it only spends 5%, 10% of the budget, and you're not hurting for budget. If budget isn't like your 80% loss due to budget, if that's not the case, and you have only a minority loss due to budget, then I think you could spare 5 to 10% of your daily spend on this test. Even if you do get some junk traffic.
Okay, Chris. Well, it's been very interesting. This is a nice tool to have in the toolbox here. we are going to jump over to Patreon. And I have some things planned for you. And yeah, I just love every week on Patreon. It just is breaking news to you about how I'm spending your money.
I know.
And I get a good reaction. So everyone go to paidsearchpodcast.com, join the Patreon. We have a weekly after show we do every single week you'll get access to. And we also have a private Paid Search Podcast Patreon Facebook group. It's a private Facebook group where we talk strategy, ideas, questions to each other. It's for all Patreon members. Once you're a Patreon member, you just jump over to our Facebook page and request access, and we get you in there. And also, Chris, we are on the dating app. We're going to bring it full circle here. We were at the beginning of the show.
Wow.
Now we're at the end of the show. We are on the dating apps, Instagram, at Paid Search Pod. If you're on there as well, follow us, and we'll connect.
I have nothing to do with that, by the way. So I'm not responsible for any content that shows up on that network. Twitter.
Any private messages you receive from the Paid Search Podcast feed
do not
at 2 in the
send
morning.
Do not send Jason anything that you want me to see. Send it to me on Paid Search or at Paid Search Pod on Twitter.
On Twitter.
That's
okay. So we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, we're everywhere. Yep.
That's where you can slide in on those DMs right there. So, all right. Thanks, guys. We'll be back next week.